them right there. Oh, baby. Here we are. Welcome to this week's show, Aura TV. I've got to remember, I'm calling it Aura TV. We're talking about meditation tonight. I've got 2 readings to do. If anybody wants to jump in on that or wants to add to that, pop yourself in on the chat there and ask what your question might be. And if you've got any questions about meditation, we're going to talk about different techniques. Sound is good. Woohoo! We'll talk about different techniques and what they're for. And if you've got a particular issue, a particular problem, particular area you'd like to look at, then we can, we, being me, there's no Pete tonight. I'm sorry about that. He couldn't make it. But life's good. We carry on. It just means that you have to put up with me alone. No real fun. But, you know, whatever. We'll get past it. So what we're looking for here with meditation is, what is it exactly? So sometimes we're sort of set up for failure by older ideas or super intense or big, huge meditative techniques. There are a few. So there's transcendental meditation, which is the tendency to look at emptying the mind and taking yourself to a space. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely wonderful. It's not easy, and it's not necessarily the best place to start. So there's that. There's transformational breathing, which I teach myself. I do not teach transcendental meditation, but transformational breathing takes you to an altered state very quickly. It can be kind of spooky. I never do it online. It's always a live class environment, and I always have a helper with me so you can run around and boot anybody who thinks they're going to die. And then there's guided meditations for specific purposes. So if you want to meet a guide, if you want to have a otherworldly experience, if you want to heal your body, if you want to develop skills in a particular area, if you want to make a communication with another person, there's so many things you can do with meditation. So I'm always suggesting that you be clear at the outset what actually you're looking for, and then it's easy to find something to suit. Now, hypnotherapy and meditation. I'm a qualified clinical hypnotherapist. Scary stuff, going under trusting me to tell you what to do. And one of the main reasons that I took it up, well, there was 2. Firstly, I gave up smoking using hypnotherapy. I had stopped smoking and then I started again, and the second time my confidence was shot. So I thought, oh, well, I'm not going to do this start-stop thing. I'm not going to go down that track. I also had it in my mind. My mum had stopped smoking, and even 14, 15 years later, she still reckons she wanted a fag, and I always thought, oh, that's not really fun. So I used it for that, and I've never wanted a cigarette since. It's been an absolutely marvellous thing. And the other reason was I was already teaching meditations, and I wanted the right words. I wanted to be able to make meditations and develop meditations of my own. I didn't want to use anybody else's, never a follower. And I wanted those wordings to be correct. I wanted them to bring out of a person what it is they're looking for. Mwah, my Q Heart, how are you, Sharon? And so we were looking for, I always say we, so me and my mates, I was looking for something that gave that ability. So meditation for me has so many potentials, so many possibilities. Hypnotherapy is the same. The basic difference between the two is meditation leaves you more choices. I leave you more choices. You can use, welcome Lake and Tree and Reiki Master, you can use meditation for behavioral changes. So self-hypnosis is a very valuable thing to use, as long as you stick with it. And that's probably key, is that once you start something, that you stick with it. That's first. There are lots of stuff there's lots of information out there about how we promote change within ourselves, and a general rule of thumb seems to be to, use something for a month. If you do it right, I don't believe you need that at all. I've seen hypnotherapy work in one session on so many occasions with so many different things that it would be a real shame to start diving into the whole idea that you had to do something for a month. But you need to believe in what you're doing. That's first, and that's key. Second, you really need to want the result. If you are doing a hypnotherapy for change, for healing, you need to want the result to be open to information. So body blah blah blah, body-centered hypnotherapy, body-centered self-hypnosis or meditations are a really valuable thing. You can use them for pain management very successfully. I've done a lot of work in that area with different groups and organisations, and you can use it to develop areas of anxiety or issues that you've got, releasing feelings. I'm not into the silver cord thing, connection thing. The only connection you've got with anybody really is your thoughts, your beliefs, your ideas. As soon as you forget about somebody, guess what? It's all done and dusted. So if you've got issues from the past, if you acknowledge that they're your issues to start with, then of course you can move along and get on with your life and do something differently. If because you can't stop thinking about somebody, you've decided it's because they're thinking about you, you're probably not right. Very often the other person's waltzed off and they really aren't thinking about you. So, using your meditation effectively means being honest, I guess. Honest about the situation, honest about what it is you're exactly trying to achieve. I've had some really amazing moments doing connective meditations where you're having a problem with another person and you can't resolve it for whatever reason. Either you haven't got the opportunity to talk, or when you do talk you seem to communicate, or it's a child, or your situation's emotionally volatile and you just can't seem to get it out there. You can communicate from the heart, and I personally believe everybody feels that type of communication from the heart, regardless of distance, time, space, age, and other variances. It changes the dynamic, and it's a dynamic thing that we're looking at here. So we start with, what are we wanting to achieve? And once we know that, then we can develop something around that, a strategy. If you want to change your behavior, the first thing you're going to look at is what's causing the behavior, not the behavior itself. So for example, if you bite your fingernails and you sit there and you spend a lot of time about trying to hypnotize yourself or meditate your way past biting your fingernails, you might find that actually it's not going to work so well because your focus is still on biting your fingernails. You might be wanting to look at anxiety. You might be wanting to look at, what situations do I do that in? Am I generally anxious, or is there a particular area of my life that creates this for me, that I just start mowing down the nails? If you have panic attacks and you have something quite extreme, you might want to get external advice or external help for that rather than trying to do it by yourself. But you can certainly start things by yourself. And if you can understand where something's come from, what the feeling is, where it is in your body. So I'm always going to start with the body. If you go into your body and you ask yourself, what is that? If I'm having a panic attack, am I having this from the gut, or am I having it from the heart? Lake and tree, you said not transcendental, but rather what type? Transformational breathing. It's a technique. It's transcendental meditation is aimed at going to a plateau, a space where there is nothing, essentially, and you're achieving that. You're working hard to get that. A lot of people have trouble with it because emptying the mind isn't an easy thing to do. I don't necessarily think we necessarily need to enter that state, but if you do need it, it's a possibility. It's there. There's always a risk that when you enter into these states that you spend too much time there and you're not living your life, you're not living within the real world. I'd have thought you'd be sick of me by now, Lake and Tree. It's cracking me up. It's like, 2 hours of Dorothy, bloody hell. Transformational breathing, the technique of the breath, and there's a lot of breathing techniques out there. The transformational breathing, the technique of the breath, literally takes you into an altered state fairly quickly, and it can be quite intimidating for some people. They actually claw up. There's a physical response to that because they get scared of it. It's an interesting thing. I sound clear on the site, because when you're listening on the other one, we're both going through a server. Here it's quite direct. You're just tuning in and I'm just putting it out there. But anyway, one of the transformational breathing advantages is when you're in that altered state, some interesting things happen. When I first did it, and why I first got hooked into it, was I always have these amazing experiences when I'm meditating, and in the past I've gone to groups before I was even really clever at it, and had amazing experiences. And I've always realized that, I don't know, maybe there's something deficient in me, but even when I was young, I could just wander off, do the daydreamy thing. I've always had phenomenal dreams, and I'm very visual, and so all of these things come together to create some amazing meditative experiences. But when I did the transformational breathing, it was with a psychotherapist. Don't get the wrong idea there. She was a qualified hypnotherapist and she knew her stuff. So one of the hi Elisa, one of the things that happened to me there was, very quickly I found myself in a position where I felt myself sinking into the floor, and it was an interesting dynamic. But the very next thing that was apparent was I knew exactly what was going on with everybody else in the room. I knew what their experiences were, which I later on thought was pretty phenomenal. I hadn't known anything about reading auras at the time. I didn't understand about energy exchange, but this happened. When it happened, there were so many things going on, and yet I could discern each moment of that. all while I was under and in this very deep state. So it was kind of phenomenal. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times for a person to get there. A number of the individuals in that particular transformational breathing workshop had to be brought out because they went into what they call freeze modes. They went into a clenching. So they're holding into their body. So there's some kind of altered mind-body state that goes on there, and there are those that can call it astral travel, call it whatever you like. What I know is it was a consciousness shift beyond the body experience. So hiya Lala. So it was a very interesting thing for me, and it really opened up a whole lot of interesting questions which I spent a lot of time investigating. And so that's transformational breathing. There's no specific purpose or drive with it, so you're not looking for except for the state. So you're not looking for a specific experience as in transcendental meditation where you're looking for this plateau, this space where there's nothing. You're looking for the state and then what you can do in it. People talk to you in the state. They ask you questions. What are you doing? What's going on? It's a chain breathing type, exactly right. So essentially on your in-breath, which is a full deep breath where you're encouraged to take deeper and more rotational breathing. So you don't stop at the top of the breath or the bottom of the breath, and you don't close the throat. It can be very uncomfortable for a little while, and then you move past discomfort, and once you move past discomfort you literally just clock out, but you're not going unconscious, or I certainly didn't. And they went around and spoke to everybody that was in the state. So it's like a talking hypnosis. When you hypnotize somebody and you ask them questions, they're in an altered state, but they're not in this open state. They've wound into themselves, which when I'm taking somebody into themselves, into their own experience, into their own memory, they're not open necessarily to the events around them, what's going on around. In fact, I encourage them not to be. You know, if I'm going to hypnotize you, I don't want you listening to the trucks and the cars and people talking. So we sort of encourage you to ignore all of that sort of stuff. In this state, none of that happened, and it was just very, very interesting. Did I gain anything super valuable out of it outside of energy knowledge? Possibly not. I did have a couple of interesting, you'd think I'm a nutter type experiences in there, and so it was kind of interesting. I would advise it for anybody who's really keen on something different and new to give something like that a go. For meditation or for self-hypnosis, what you're really looking for is one area of focus. So it's all about focus. It's about focusing on the right thing. 2, it's focusing on a result. Whether you're meditating or whether you're looking at hypnotherapy, you are focused on a result of some sort. So a lot of times people will say to me they're having trouble, and the trouble they're having is they haven't actually decided what they're trying to achieve. They determine, well, I want to meditate, so I'm listening to some music, I'm relaxing down. Then they'll say, but nothing happens, and then I hear the clock, and then I hear this, or I get involved in the music. You haven't decided what you're going to do. There's also technique. So the body relaxation technique can't be beaten. So that's where you relax your toes. One of the best ways to do that is actually to stress and relax rather than just go toes, relax and wiggle them. So you tense up your toes. You can do this while you're listening to me now. If you happen to get a cramp, don't blame me. So you can squeeze up your toes, and then once they feel quite under stress, then you just relax them, and it's like this wonderful little buzzy energy flow through the body as you release that. It encourages relaxation. Then you do the same with your calves. You tense up your calves, and you keep doing that. You work your way up to your butt, and you tense everything up, and work your abdomen, and so on, all the way through. And as you're doing that, you relax, you relax, you relax. By the time you get to the end of that tense relax through your body, you are in a really nice state already without having to try and talk yourself down. And it's very hard to talk yourself down into a state of relaxation. It's easy to listen to somebody boring like me and find yourself going play. People do it. You know what? I have classes, and I'd be looking to talk about something, and then you'd watch somebody starting to phase out. It's like slap, come on, we're not doing that today. So it was kind of good fun. But it's that relaxing yourself that becomes a bit of a challenge when you're working by yourself. So look at the body relaxation techniques, because they work. All of your experiences are going to be through your body. When people have a meditation and they sort of go out there and they say, it was such lovely sensations with those. That body was having those sensations. That body was enjoying it. So relax the body. There are other visual relaxation techniques, and a thing you can do, the butt clenching. I tell you what, it's got to be good for you, right? One of the techniques you can use is a color technique. If you're very visual, this is really great. A A professional massage works wonderfully. Now we'll keep it clean, people. Keep it clean. You can focus on a colour. Pick a colour you like. Like there's immediately the first thing when you think of colour, what's the very first colour that comes to mind? And just imagine that you see it everywhere. I use a lot of the pink cloud, the pink fog. And this started because I got teeth pulled out. We were talking about this earlier tonight. I had my teeth pulled out when I was quite young. As 12, I had 4 teeth pulled out because they wanted to put braces on in my face, which they did. And to pull these teeth out, they gave me Moonflower, hello. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you for a little while. And to do that, they gave me gas, and that's what they did back in the day. Put a mask on you, breathe, count back from 10. I remember getting to 8, but I can remember thinking when I was sucking on this stuff, I remember thinking afterwards that it tasted like pink. I don't know why, I was just a kid, but it tasted like pink. And to this day, I can taste this taste in the back of my nostrils and in the back of my throat whenever I remember it. And it's something I use, get too high with gas, you go out. I was knocked out. The next thing I wake up and I'm 4 teeth short and getting carried down a hallway by a doctor. The pink, we've got sayings around it, being in the pink, being happy. Pink is soft, it's compassionate, it's fluffy, cotton candy, all that sort of stuff. So use colours that sort of mellow us out, that make us feel kind of nice. Ew. Great to see you too. And so I use pink cloud, pink fog, breathing in the pink, breathing out the toxins in your body, breathing in the pink, breathing out the toxins in your body, breathing in the pink, breathing out the toxins in your body, and you just calm yourself. Your words slow down in your mind. You're breathing out something that's tense or toxic. You're breathing in something that's soft and it's lovely. It's infusing your cells, and you're telling yourself this. It's infusing my cells. My body's relaxing. I can feel the stress of my day just passing away, falling away. And as you tell yourself these things, you can't help but relax. You can try it now. You can say these things out loud, and you feel your body starting to relax. Your body is totally geared into your thought processing. It's totally geared into what you perceive is happening in the moment. Your brain doesn't care if there's pink fog or not. Your brain doesn't care what's actually going on unless you're in danger. Everything else is pretty much up to whatever you want to achieve. Couldn't hold up under the happy gas, she'd blurt things out. Well, I'll tell you what, her dentist wasn't using enough then. I was unconscious, man. But yeah, I was given an injection. I broke my wrist sort of severely, and they weighed me and gave me an injection. And when they weighed me wrong, and they gave me too much. And my poor sister Trish, they wheeled me out into the waiting room for this stuff to take effect, and there's all these people. It's like, when I think about it, I think, how rude. Anyway, I'm laying there and I'm telling everybody my life story because I can't shut up when I'm straight, forget about when I'm off my face. And my sister Trish, I actually remember her getting up, laughing, and just walking away. She just walked off, and I'm on a gurney. It's like, woohoo, life's good, oh honey. Is there anything about me you don't know? It was just a blast, and I was off my face. And then when they went to straighten out my wrist, I'd sort of goosenecked it. When they went to straighten it out, I had these doctors pulling on it and yanking it and doing this, and then they put a what do you call it, a cast on, and then they x-rayed it again, and they were like, oh my god, this isn't straight yet, this is wrong. And so they took me back, pulled this thing off, did it again. They did this 3 times, and at the end of it, this doctor, she's going, off my face. Oh no, that's a normal saying. This doctor says, you're amazing, we can just do anything with you. And it was because they'd given me way too much in the first place. The next day I had to go back. They had to re-break my wrist. They had to do the whole caboodle all over again. But the funny thing was, when I went back the next day and the doctor looked at the weight, and he looked at me and said, oh, I don't think so. And he weighed me again, and he said, geez, no wonder they could do what they did last night. So I was probably fortunate that they had misweighed me wrong, or didn't see the weight right. Anyway, back to square. Sorry. Let's go yakety yak. Woohoo. So one of those Kiwi slang, yes, more Kiwi slang. What? Brit had green. Brit had green whistle when went to dentist. She got high and would not let go of the whistle. They wanted to talk to me later about her being a druggie. Oh, it's great to see you here though, Debbie. Fabulous Miss New Zealand. So yeah, the thing about meditating and self-hypnosis is to be able to relax yourself. That's The one, she was only 9. Aww. And they wanted to talk to her about drug habit because she wouldn't let go of a whistle. Key. She got high and would not let go of the whistle. I mean, okay. If you can relax the body, then of course you can start. I wouldn't go back either. Then you can start putting yourself in a position of actually achieving something. Now, if you want to meet a guide, so we start right over here. If you want to have an angelic experience, a lot of people try this on their own and then say, well, you know, I'm just not cutting it. It's just not working for me. You're not relaxed enough to have that experience, or you haven't focused on what purpose there is in it. Meditation tends to be getting ourselves into these states is so get up to a result that if it's something you're scared of, if you want it but then you best go to a group, go to an organisation or something, and put yourself in a position where you have this wonderful experience. A whole pile of people are there doing that with you. The energy actually builds. You know, if there's a number of people involved, or if you've got somebody else who can share energy with you really well, then you actually will create or get yourself into an experience, and you'll find that it's easier. You'll find that what you can do with somebody helping you can be a lot more than you can do on your own. And you just start that way until you can do it on your own. I always recommend that everybody should learn to put themselves under, learn to put yourself into a little wee trance so you can really relax. One of the things about relaxation meditations is it just does so much for you. It's longer, or it's harder for you to get head up. It's harder for you to get stressed in your day, and that's just true. You can get so efficient at it that you can waltz off down in your lunch hour into the little broom closet, to the toilet, wherever you want to go, into the cafeteria, go sit in your car in the car park for 10 or 15 minutes. And if you can get to the point that that relaxation zones in very quickly, you can have a 10-minute meditation, which is the equivalent of having just over an hour or two sleep. A half-hour meditation, they estimate, is equivalent to about 3 hours sleep. That's good rest for your body, and you can go back and you're charged and you're vital. One of the things then is that you need to teach yourself what a signal to meditate is, what a signal for relaxation is. So doing the same thing most of the time, I switch it up. I do a number of different things because I get bored easy. So if you get bored easy, then think about the other way. But if you have trouble relaxing, and if you like things to be familiar and regular, then get a method, stick with it, and stay there. Now, one of the things you can do for that, if you have trouble yourself, is to get a guided meditation and use that intro. Whatever intro they use, if you like it, then use that for yourself all the time. Again, that can be the body relaxant. Now, you can start telling yourself, okay, I'm going to do the body relax. From now on, though, every time I even think I'm going to relax my body, I find myself instantly relaxing, and then go through the process. After a while, you find that if you start, okay, when I start at my feet, that's like a 1. When I get to my knees, it's a 2. When I get to my hips, it's a 3. Get to my chest, it's a 4. Throat, 5. Top of the head. Then what you're telling yourself is you're going to get to a point where, if I just count to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or if I just count backwards from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you find yourself relaxing in moments. It's a hypnotherapy technique, there's no doubt about it. You get a person in one time, and you take a whole pile of time to bring them down, relax them, not because that's what it takes or what it needs, but to gain their trust. You're going to do some serious work with them. If you're going to just muck around, it's not so important. But when people have serious issues, they want to trust you, they want to be in the right zone, and it's not about their ability to relax, it's about their ability to trust you. So you trust yourself a little bit, I should say, so you can manage this fairly quickly, that you get yourself a little system going so that you end up just doing the 5 numbers, and the 5 numbers is enough to take you out. Or you start telling yourself about pink, or you start telling yourself about blue, and by the time you've told yourself your little wee story, and you want your little story to be less than a minute, less than 2 minutes, so if you've only got 10 or 15, all of that's productive. A lot of people will take 5 minutes on either side of a half-hour meditation to relax and to come out of it, and so they're not really having more than 20 minutes anyway. So you're looking to instantly relax, instantly come out, and get to the point where I'm just going under. I can do that now. Actually, it's kind of scary for people around me sometimes, and then I can come out instantly as well, and go back if necessary. So you're teaching yourself that kind of thing. You're teaching yourself to have the ability to just go in, down, for whatever you need. If you need relaxation, you just, I can't say enough, you can't go past it. You bring your blood pressure down, you bring your stress levels down, you clarify your mind, and you leave it open to do what you need to do. There's a whole pile of fabulous stuff going on there, and so when you can create that environment for yourself very quickly, then Bob's your uncle. After that you can do whatever you want. But I go there fast. So we're looking for what purpose is in it. So relaxation doesn't need a purpose beyond relaxation. It needs a method to get there. Problem solving. You can take your relaxation, once you've learned how to do it well, you can go, I've got this problem. I'm just going to go in, have a wee nap, and come out. And when I come out, I've got a solution to that, or I can see clearly what I need to do by looking at the problem from a balanced and calm perspective. So it can be a wonderful tool for that sort of thing as well. So once you learn some meditative techniques, you can take them out into the world and create a whole different environment in how you are functioning and what you're doing. Another interesting thing I noticed when I was meditating a lot, I was meditating 6 to 8 hours a day for nearly a year. It just sort of evolved and just sort of happened. It really did just sort of happen. One of the things that came out of that was I sleep better. I sleep really well. I would go to sleep. I have sleep problems now and again, I suppose, like everybody, but especially through this time, the type of sleep I had was always refreshing. I always woke up totally refreshed. I didn't necessarily sleep more, but I did sleep better. And it was as if when I lay down, I had nothing to think about, I had nothing to worry about. When I woke up, I didn't wake up thinking about concerns. I was always, and still am really, quite happy to just sort of lay there and just let my mind juice things over, relax, or enjoy a thought, or whatever, So it's giving yourself a little bit of permission not to be on the go all the time. It's giving yourself permission to take a minute just for you. It doesn't have to be a productive minute as far as what am I doing, what am I going to do, what did I do before. It can be productive in other ways where you're actually giving yourself energy, where you're actually applying yourself to yourself, and that means you're listening to your body. It means you're putting yourself in the right frame to be as productive as possible. And I always find that when I take a little bit of time, I become more productive afterwards, so you probably find the same thing. If you want to change a habit, that's the trickiest thing. Go see a hypnotherapist if you really struggle with it. If you've got something, I think it's important to say that if you've got something to trying not to do, then focusing on it more is not the way to go. If you're going, I'm always getting angry, so I'm going to meditate on anger. That's crazy talk, So what you need to do is you need to bring that back and go, I'm going to meditate on calm. I'm going to meditate on serenity. And what you want is for everything in your system to come down to a point that it takes longer to get up there. And when you get used to being down in that calm space, it takes forever to get up there. It could take weeks. Lala is trying to quit smoking, Dorothy. Can you help her on what to do when she's struggling? I would go hypnotherapy all the time. Smokers are the worst, man. They're shockers. So if you've actually stopped smoking, it's worth a session because it's all over for you then. If you're thinking of stopping smoking, you haven't stopped until you stop. So the struggle is always before. 3 days in, well, congratulations, sweetheart, you've done a great job. Already you've done a great job. So you can say, I have stopped, instead of I am quitting. There's this little message you've given to yourself that you haven't stopped yet. Do you understand? I had a friend stop a little while ago, very proud of that for him. One of the things that I noticed after a little while, well, it's only 3 days. It's only 3 days, sweetie. Be kind to yourself. I'll tell you what happens there is this idea that it's hard. We've been told that it's hard. You're telling yourself when you smoke that you get stressed, so you have a cigarette to beat your stress. You're telling yourself maybe that it's controlling your weight. You're telling yourself a whole lot of little porkies. The first reality is that you are stressed because you want to smoke. Right? That's just the truth of it. When you have an addiction and you're denying yourself the cigarette, you get stressed when you want one. So that usually rotates about every hour. That I was going to say cannabis, that the nicotine it drops down into your system to a point that your body says, hang on, I want my next hit. So about every hour you're going to start functioning that whole idea. Function that whole idea of needing a cigarette. So what you do there is you tell yourself it's just a thought, and say that to yourself right now. Actually, my body doesn't want a cigarette. It knows it hates it. So really it's just a thought. A thought doesn't make you have one. You know, a thought really doesn't. We have one because we've told ourselves a whole lot of stories. So there's the first one. Second, you might get extremely fat when you stop smoking, but only if you overeat. Usually when I've worked with people who've quit smoking, they put on a couple of pounds. I'm not going to lie to you, they put on a couple of pounds because they still put their hands near their mouths. And when there's not a cigarette in it, the tendency is to want to chuck something like food in it. If you're going to chew on chocolate, and if you're going to eat ice cream, and if you're going to just keep constantly eating, then you will get fat. If you choose to shove grapes in your mouth one at a time here and there, you'll get very full and probably not get so fat. But one thing's for sure is that you would want to focus on them as two separate things. Most people in actual fact put on a few pounds using hypnotherapy or not. So if you put on, I should say in kilos, maybe they'd put on a couple of kilos. If you put on a couple of kilos and you allow yourself to do that, you will relax out and you will be fine. If you start stressing about it, then you're focused on the food, Now, I'm not going to ask you if you're overweight, but a lot of the women that have come to me to stop smoking and have said they're concerned about weight were overweight anyway. So I want you to think a little bit about that. If you're overweight while you're smoking, I can promise you that it wasn't helping you. All right? How's that? It's still putting something in your mouth. If you make poor food choices, etc. So think about the type of food you're eating. Think about things that are clean. Think about things that require you to chew. Think about, do you want to address the weight issue? Would you like to look at that as opposed to addressing the smoking issue? I'm not really hot on the gum idea either. It releases saliva and all sorts of, I mean, the whole idea of gum is revolting to me. It's like, what are you putting in your mouth? So think about, the reason I like grapes is they're small, you shove one in your mouth, you chew it, you can shove 3 or 4 in your mouth. Grapes are quite filling, actually. The other thing is the exercise side of it. Get out and start breathing. A lot of people that stop smoking don't start breathing, so they stay with the problem. In England, a few years ago now, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a bit longer, they decided that people with clinical inflammation of the lungs, this is where you get the little thing going on, or you find yourself getting a little bronchial every winter or every time you get a cold. They found that even after 20 years of stopping smoking, and they ran a test through, I can't remember the numbers now, but I think it was something like 500 odd people, they found they still had the clinical inflammation even after 20 years. My mum died of lung cancer, and at the time when she got sick in the heart, she had stopped smoking 4 years prior, and they put her on a respirator, and this black gunk come out of this lady's lungs, my mum's lungs, into this respirator machine. It was like this dirty great big clear filter was filled with black gunk. And my sister and I was standing there, and we looked at this, and my sister said to the nurse, "What the heck is that?" And she said, "That's tar coming out of your mum's lungs." And we were horrified. Absolutely horrified, the quantity of this stuff. And she had stopped smoking 4 years before. She didn't get fit, however. She didn't take care of her body. She didn't improve circumstances. I learned from that, and so I went and got a lot of exercise happening after I stopped smoking. Teach yourself to breathe. Take up swimming, blow balloons, get out, walk, get yourself dizzy, run, do anything, because when you go dizzy, you're introducing oxygen into your system. You're introducing oxygen to your brain, into your blood supply, into your lungs. Now you will have periods of times where you do have fits of coughing, and that's because you've still got stuff there your body's trying to clear. And the key here for me is about not getting the lung cancer years later. It's not having your body still denied oxygen a lot, you know, the cause of cancer. There's not enough oxygen in the body. So think about putting it in there. Since you've been denying it, it's time to start reintroducing it. On top of stopping smoking, get stuck in. Think about what you can do to improve your circumstances, improve your lungs. You want to clear them for sure. You want to strengthen them. You want to be in a position where you're actually not just a non-smoker, a person who's quit smoking and wants to smoke, but a person who's feeling healthier, feeling stronger, and feeling happier about yourself. I would also say too, at some point pat yourself on the back. You know, we're told it's a scary, hard thing to do. I've got to tell you, I don't believe it is. I used hypnotherapy because I didn't have confidence, but I had actually stopped smoking for a year before I started again. So you got to sit there and go, okay, what's going on there? What are we doing? What are we thinking? Why would a person do that? Why did I do that? I haven't got a good reason. Not seriously. I had to sit there, and I lived in Australia at the time. Well, I sort of probably have an idea, but I was living in Australia at the time, and I would go and I would sit out the back so nobody could see me, and I would light a fag, and I would have maybe a quarter of it, and I would just go so dizzy I'd have to put it out, and then I'd go down another 2 or 3 hours later and do the same thing again. I'd stopped smoking for only a year, and yet to start smoking, it wasn't an addiction. I didn't want it. It didn't taste nice, made me dizzy. It was awful, but I made myself. It took me about 2 weeks of doing that before I could smoke a cigarette completely again. By the time we got to the end of 3 weeks, I was smoking properly again, and it was just a phenomenal thing when I think back on it. Addiction didn't cause that. There was bloody mindedness. Bloody minded, I say. When you want to do something, you do it, and when you want the results of that, then live up to those results. Go look for those results. Get the idea in there that I want to be a non-smoker. I am a non-smoker. I'm not a quitter. I didn't just stop smoking. I am a non-smoker. We were born that way. It's our natural state. So if you focus and bring yourself into that, then you can do pretty well. You're welcome, Lala. I've just stopped her from sneaking a fag. There you go. I'll tell you what, you're not sneaking a fag. If you go and have a cigarette, you're still smoking. It's as simple as that. And so what you're doing is you're pretending to quit. I'm fairly firm on that, having been round the mill with it. I'm not a smoker, but you often tell me to breathe. Non-smokers lack oxygen too. Yes, asthmatics lack oxygen. People that don't breathe clearly, anxious people lack oxygen. The difference with a smoker, of course, Debbie, is they're putting crap into their lungs as well. So you're filling up. Usually when I'm energetically looking at a smoker, they look a lot like a asthmatic, and I can't always tell the difference. But I know it's a smoker when I see a shadow at the bottom of the lung, and that's what I see. I see like a dark patch at the bottom of the rib cage, or just above the bottom of the rib cage, and I know that that person has now got some smoking issue. Sometimes when I'm feeling somebody like that energetically, I actually can't take a full breath myself. And I know I was like that once. When I stopped smoking, the first thing I did was I took up swimming again, which I used to do so much of, and it forces you to breathe clearly. It forces you to take good breaths. It helps clear crap out of your lungs. So, think of the ways you can help yourself instead of focusing on feeling sorry for yourself because you've made a good choice. It's a crazy thing to sit there and go, oh, I've given up smoking. What a hassle. It's so painful. It's awful. I want a fag. No, you don't, or you wouldn't have stopped. And if you can remind yourself of these little things, take it positively. If you're sitting there thinking about, I want a fag, first thought, it's just a thought. Because yesterday I would have had one, or the last week or last month I would have had one, but I'm not having one today. I'm not having one now. Take it minute by minute. If you've got a packet sitting around anywhere, chuck the freaking thing, because having it sitting there is an admission of not trying, really. Chuck it, get rid of it. And if you're thinking about this costs a bit too much money to throw away, no, it doesn't. It costs just as much money to put it into your lungs. Just saying. It doesn't matter what you do, it's a chucking away of money. So from there, when it comes to the food side, dead easy. Do some real little psychological tricks. Use a smaller plate for your meal. Get a little luncheon plate, dinner plate, put your meal on that. Determined to have good fresh food. Don't eat rubbish. Don't buy bickies. Don't buy cakes. Don't put those things in your house. If you buy them, there's an intention to eat them. You've got to agree with that, right? You didn't want it when you bought it. You bought it because you might want it. So think about that. If you find it's a real struggle, really, get help. It's worth it. It's worth getting help. It's so much cheaper than smoking, to get a bit of help. When you take a nice deep breath, always breathe into your gut. Can you hear that? Always breathe into your gut, because that fills your lungs properly. As a smoker, you'd be a shallow breather, breathing into the top of your lungs, because guess what? It makes you a little dizzy, or it's uncomfortable to breathe all the way into the bottom of your lungs. So practice a couple of those every day. Cough your lungs out and see how you go. People talk about the gift idea and the money thing. I've never seen it work. So, you can try it if you really think it would help. You're better off saving the money if you're looking at that, so that you've got something quite nice and big and flash. But the key is about focusing. Most of us, unless we're really well to do, will find another need for the money anyway. But I think it's really, really important to keep your focus on success. A really nice little drill is, I just want you to imagine, everybody can do this with anything. Usually one of the main issues with stopping smoking is fear prior to stopping. Actually, we're scared because we know it's going to suck. We know that we're going to, maybe fail. We know that we've done damage to the body and the body has to purge, and it's uncomfortable when the body purges. Actually, as far as the word enable is concerned, be responsible, be self-responsible. I believe in personal responsibility. If you pick up a cigarette, I've seen this a lot. Somebody in the family says, I'm going to stop smoking. My husband or my wife smokes, and so I can't. That's an excuse, and it's not going to wash. So you need to think about it. If you've got something that you're doing it, not the other person. If they're making it easy for you to do it, then you're still doing it, and they just really don't know what else to do. So think about that. It doesn't matter if you've got one or not. I remember when I gave up smoking, there was always one person who'd offer you a fag because they don't want you to stop, because once you stop, you're showing them that it's not only possible. I smoked for 23 years. I now haven't smoked for 11, coming up to 12, and I'm waiting for the day I can say, hey, I quit 23 years ago. I'm not wishing myself old, but you understand. At this stage, I've still smoked for more of my life than I haven't. I started smoking at 15, and it's a horrifying thing when I look at 15-year-olds now. Absolutely horrifying for me to think that they might actually lift up and have a cigarette. That's why I do free quit smoking for teenagers. If they want to stop smoking, if they're going to admit they smoke and they want to stop smoking, I will do them free every time. If they can stop now, wonderful, perfect. Right, moving right along. That's awesome, Sharon. It's a good space to get into. I'm certainly very happy with my results and where I'm at. Yeah, I can't believe people younger than me smoke. Oh, that's just funny right there. So it's an interesting thing. I'm glad that helped, Lala. I'll be sending energy at you too, honey, and you'll hear me batting on the back of your head the next time you think about a cigarette. Congrats, Lake and Tree quit long ago, and so glad he did as well. I was at university the other day, says Springs here, and there were so many young kids smoking, I was actually shocked. Lisa, Dorothy explained to Lala how buying me something nice would help her feel better, hun. Yeah, Lala, if you buy Lisa something nice with all the money that you're saving, you'll feel better because you don't have enough money for cigarettes for yourself. How's that? Give it a go. It might just work. Okay. Where am I? I was going to give you a little technique. So we got to talk about techniques because it's important. So little technique for just shifting something fairly quickly. So Dorothy said so. Actually, that's been said so many times it's almost scary all by its own self. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes, and I just want you to imagine right in the center of your vision with your eyes closed. I want you to imagine your fears. You can relate it to something, or you can just imagine your fears. Imagine that they're being stacked up like a pile to be burned, like a bonfire or something, just this pile being chucked on. You don't have to visually see everything, but just see this pile and imagine it's your fears that are coming out of your body and they're going into the front of your vision, right in the very center of your eyes. And as that goes forward, I just want you to let it build up until you're starting to hunt for something to put on it. It's kind of filled up. And once you've got that, I want you to just move that pile all the way to the left of your vision. So your eyes closed, move it to the very left till there's sort of like a wall on the left hand side, and you can't shift it any further. Then as you've done that, I want you to bring your focus back to the center, and what I want you to do is I want you to imagine what your goals are, what your achievements are, the things that you think would be absolutely wonderful going forward, and I just want you to bring it to the very center of your vision, just again like a bonfire pile, just stacks on the mill, whatever that might mean for you. What is it? A trophy? Is it an achievement? Is it a certificate? Is it a diploma? Is it a successful book? Is it money? Whatever it is, put it all in this pile of achievement, what you see to be. It could be gratification, it could be validation in many forms, it could be people saying, wow, job well done. Add all of those things in there. It could be being recognized for your good qualities. Push that all the way to the right of your vision. You can see it to the right. There's sort of like a wall at the edge of your vision. Push it over there and hold it over there. Then I just want you to step forward right into the center. I want you to look square on to the left, and you can see your pile of fears. And I want you to walk straight up to them and stand right in front of them as you see your piles of fears. What I want you to do is just acknowledge that they're there. You don't have to worry about them too much, and then just turn your back on them. As you're looking, I want you to start walking towards your goals and achievements, leaving your fears behind you. If you can't do this now, do it later, do it anytime you like. Just keep your eyes on your goals and your achievements. And as you start to walk towards them, you notice that they're sort of hard to see. It's, you can't quite feel it necessarily. And so as you're walking further, you become aware that there's a bit of a wall between you and those things that you really want, those things that you call achievements and success. And so what I want you to do is I want you to get out a mallet, get out your kicking boots, whatever you like. I want you to just start smashing that wall down and just whack at it. Every time you whack at it, something breaks and something moves aside. And as you keep whacking at it and whacking at it and whacking it and breaking it down, you can see and feel those goals and those successfulness and achievements. As you're looking at those, they become clearer. You can almost taste them. You can feel the energy from them. You can see them. It's something that you can feel you can do. You can feel that welling up in your body. And once you've cleared this wall, just clear it completely away. Even if there's anything at the bottom, just clear it so it's completely flat. It doesn't exist anymore. And as you look over your shoulder, you might notice you don't really have a pile back there anymore that's worth taking any notice. And I want you to keep on walking forward to your pile of success, your pile of achievements, your pile of goals. And as you get close to it, you can feel it, you can touch it, reach out and touch anything that's there. And just take a nice deep breath and relax. Very simple little method, very simple little thing. You can do it as often as you like. You can make it something specific, or you can make it as general as you like, and you can revisit it here and there. You don't need to do it every day. There's lots of tiny little wee techniques like that. You might have a particular situation that makes you anxious, and for you right now, Lala, I would look at the food for this one. What I want you to do is I want you to imagine the person that makes you anxious, or imagine the situation that causes you some concern. It can be a work situation, it can be something that's going down with either another person, in which case I want you to imagine the person. And as you're looking at that, I want you to see something interesting about it. I want you to see it and turn it into a funny cartoon, turn it into a funny story. If you're looking at food, or if you're looking at cigarettes, if you're looking at an item or a situation, I want you to make them into something that's really quite comical. And as you make something that's comical of it, what I want you to do is then I want you to determine a way to destroy it. Something funny. If it's a person, you can blow them up. Literally, like a balloon, blow them up and then let them go. You can pin them to the walls so their little arms and legs are dangling and kicking and squealing. You can turn them into little rat faces, like little squealy voices, whatever you like. That's up to you. It's another very simple, nice little technique. I know what she's picturing now, says Lisa. So they're cute little techniques that take a matter of moments. If you've got to go into a situation that concerns you, that makes you nervous or distresses you, a wonderful thing is to imagine yourself in that situation. Imagine looking at the other person, the other people, or whatever it is you've got to do, the computer screen. And then I want you to just sort of step back and look at the back of your own head. It works very well, Lala. At the back of your own head, we think that everything's got to be this deep, take you down, bring you down to a point of the subconscious. It certainly does not. These are things that affect us in our conscious. We know it affects us, so we don't have to go very far to find them. There are things that we do need to go deeper for, but in the main, if you've got a habit, if you've got a behavior like smoking, eating, drinking, whatever it might be, then that habit is in your conscious. You know you do it, so you can address it in your conscious. It makes sense when you think about it just a little bit. So I want you to just bring your focus to stepping behind yourself, literally stepping out of the frame, looking at the back of your head, looking at the situation or the other person. Step back again so you can see that you're further away, and step back until you're comfortable. You can step 10 meters back, 2 meters back, 1 foot back, it doesn't matter, but you just keep stepping back until you feel absolutely comfortable, and sit there. You can do this as often as you like. If you are going to a doctor or a dentist and that concerns you, then just imagine that you're socializing, that it's a wonderful party, everything's fabulous. Even if you stay a little bit concerned, you won't have the same level of distress, and that's what you're looking for, reducing the distress levels, and so you're more comfortable, therefore you're more competent, you're more capable. Lala's saying she can see her big butt now. Cool. So as we're looking at stuff like that, we can look at problem solving, and you can use meditation for problem solving. So you can determine what your problem is. That's the first thing. What is my problem? Now say you're having a problem with somebody at work, just an example. You're having this issue with them. You can't just go, it's them. Alright, so you determine, is there something I can be or something I can change that will help alter that situation to a certain extent? And that's what you're looking for. And as you start your meditation, you're not thinking of the other person, you're always going to bring it home. You're always going to bring it back to yourself. What can I do? What can I change? You know, if it means you have to leave the job, then maybe that's a decision you have to make. You know, if that's your boss and there's nothing you can do about it, then perhaps, you know, that's what you've got to do. If there is something you can do about it, or if you are the boss, then you can gain yourself a solution in your own behaviour for sure. If you've got a situation that you dislike and that you find yourself embroiled in all the time, and you want to have a communication with another person, it's such a wonderful thing. I think it's best to do this when you're going to bed or when you go to sleep, so you don't have a conscious input into manipulating things or trying to manipulate things. You just rest yourself out, imagine the other person, imagine your heart, imagine their heart. Imagine these two hearts coming close together. A crystal that works really well with this is kyanite, K-Y-A-N-I-T-E. So you can imagine that as well, that kyanite is helping to build this little bridge between you and this other person. You can feel that connection getting stronger and stronger, and as it gets stronger, it's a heart connection, not a mind connection, not a throat connection, certainly not a solar plexus connection. And it's a heart connection, heart connection. You're simply asking to repair it. You don't care how. Honestly, you don't care how. You really don't. As soon as you care how, you need to manipulate the situation, you need to manipulate them, or you have an agenda, the heart's not in it anymore, it's up here, and you cannot connect from there. In fact, that might be the problem. So taking a nice deep breath on that one, you can have a think about it. There are 3 simple little techniques you can use anytime. We tend to want to or need to call on them on occasion, not all the time, but just now and again. The heart-to-heart connection is brilliant for relationships, for partnerships, for children, parents, but it's equally good for an employment situation. If you've got a problem with a workmate, you have a heart-to-heart. We say the words, we have a heart-to-heart, and so things are so much better afterwards, because we're talking then about, or we're coming from a place of genuinely looking for a solution, rather than a point of willpower or a point of win or loser competitiveness, that sort of stuff. Yeah, give it a go. You might be surprised. I know I was when I first did it, and I've done it a few times since. I've not really called on it very much because I'm not really pure enough of intention to know that it'll work most of the time. But the few times that I've used it, I have genuinely just wanted it fixed, and it's actually done the job. So see how you go with that. What else can we talk about with meditations? Another motivation, I guess, for a meditation would be performance enhancement. We could be talking sex, or we could be talking sport. One of the things you can do there is you come back to the body base, you go into your relaxation, relax the body, blah, 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 as we mentioned earlier. And then what you do is you bring yourself down to that point of relaxation, and then you just imagine yourself doing whatever it is perfectly. Now, if you've done it before, and there's a moment that you can call on in memory, you bring that memory forward while you're completely relaxed, and you allow yourself to fit into that. Don't get excited there, my emerald eyes. You allow yourself to fit into that, whether it's golf, whether it's swimming, riding a horse, playing a piano, guitar, whatever that is, whatever that skill was. Or it could be that you're just having a bad run on it, or it could be that you haven't done it for a while. And so you can remember a time when you did it perfectly, and that's what you're looking for. You seek yourself, you just relax yourself back, imagine yourself doing it perfectly, feel it in your body, feel yourself, feel what it's like to set yourself up for it, feel what it's like to perform it or do it, and then feel what it's like afterwards. Okay, that satisfaction of that lovely, you can see that was a golf thing, right? It's just, there's that sweet spot, and when you hit it, it's just like yum. It's brilliant, and you know it's brilliant. So it's nothing to do with sex, it's golf. For me, it's golf. I haven't played for a while. Yeah. So I'm already imagining getting out onto, as soon as I get home, I'm just going to be racing down to a golf course and have a punt, and it's going to be a disaster if I don't do this first. Even then, my shoulders are a bit shot, so it's going to be a bit of an issue. But that's the way you do it. If it was riding a horse and you're returning to riding, you imagine the rhythm, you imagine the movements, you be in the moment, you imagine the end of the ride and how wonderful it was, and you can imagine it. If you've never done it, you imagine being in it. But if you have done it, always bring a memory forward from when you were doing it very well. And that's regardless of what it is you are trying to achieve. If you get cold or hot, guess what? You can change that. So you can imagine your blood pressure not coming up so that it's a point of danger, but you imagine your blood flowing through your body easily. Imagine eating ginger, or imagine eating chili. So these things increase blood flow without increasing blood pressure. If your blood pressure is high, then you can imagine yourself, this is a real nice little one. If you don't have a memory of it, then you imagine it either as you've seen it. For example, say you're thinking about we'll use golf again just because it's on my mind. So if you're thinking about golf, then you go and watch a program, okay? Get it, or go to YouTube or whatever. Find an expert doing what you want to do. So they're driving off. If you're a girl, get a girl, not a guy. If you're tall, get somebody tall. Get somebody with a similar sort of stance or position, body build to you, and then watch them move. Watch them move, and as they do, we're perfect mimics. Okay, so just imagine I'm doing that. I'm doing that exactly the way that person's doing it. I used to do that a lot in Taekwondo, especially when I first started. But the only reason I got a good punch on Mitch one day was because I mimicked him. Literally, I mimicked him. And so it was the most unexpected thing for him, and so we're looking at mimicry as how we learn things, and how we learn things well from somebody who's a sweet Mitch. Isn't he lovely, honey? She's had some sessions with Mitch. He's just gorgeous. He's in Australia right now, so but I'm looking forward to catching up with him in a little while. He's just the sweetest guy. I love him to bits. And so imagine that you're doing that based on how you've seen it done before by somebody who's good at it, not somebody who's full of faults and can't do it very well. So that works really, really well. You'll be surprised how much information we take watching somebody else do something well. Where was I? What was I telling you to do? I can't remember. Gone. It's like, phew. It's all over. We're over. And it is all over. We've got 6 minutes left. So if you've got any other thoughts or techniques that I've missed, let me know. I'm sure you will. So that's how we increase or enhance a performance. Golf mimicry. You can do it. You look at something and you copy, and when you do that, you'll do it a whole lot better than if you're trying to work it out for yourself. There's still an element of letting your muscles get into gear if you're playing golf, if you're doing a sport, if you're riding a horse, playing a piano, even, your fingers, your hands. The muscles have to come into play, but you can certainly be a whole lot better right off the bat, that everything will be in place, and then of course you stretch the muscles that need it, or strengthen the muscles that need it, and get into that rhythm very quickly. So it's all about putting yourself in the right space as quickly as possible. It's a very easy thing to do, to remember a skill. Cellular memory and all that, I'm right there for it. And so once you've got roll on march, once you've got that happening, what's in March? Oh, March, yes, roll on March. Once you've got that happening in your body, you actually find yourself geared towards it. You find your body moving differently. You find things switching into a phase of, I remember having done that. I always say this because it sounds good. Abs, the six-pack abs. Mitch has got them, by the way, my emerald eyes. The six-pack abs, they are an OOS injury. They're an overuse syndrome. Basically, your muscles know that they're going to have to do a lot of work in the same particular way, and so they stay ready to go. And so that's what you can do. Oh, that's the one I was going to tell you about. I've got the itchiest ear all of a sudden. Oh, sleep exercise. You can do it. You can put yourself into a position where you've exercised before. You really have to have exercised before. If you haven't done any kind of exercise ever in your whole life, then get down on the floor and do some crunches, right? Do some press-ups. Have a feel. What does it feel like to do that? Try and do them properly. You're better to do 3 properly than 10 badly. So one of those things. Oh, that's nice. I'm glad you went to Andrea. She's such a honey. She's so good. Where was I? And so before you go to sleep, you sit there and go, while I'm asleep, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. Set your program up, go to sleep. You wake up, and seriously, your body will do a little bit of effort. I'm trying to think, was it Charles Atlas who introduced calisthenics, and that thinking of exercise, and just introducing a bit of tension into your body, actually built your body up, and that's how he built his up. He didn't do anything else. So it works, it's true. Once your body believes something, it believes it. So you want to convince your body of something. If you want to change something in your body, you can do it sitting in a chair. It's not as good as running out and actually doing it, and we haven't got a cardio thing happening. Just don't forget that. We're not working the lungs, we're not working the heart, but you can actually get quite a bit done, and you maintain a certain level of fitness. I will exercise while sleeping from now on. Sounds great to me. That's right. And you've got all these husbands saying, can you hypnotize my wife for sexuality? Can you hypnotize my husband to be more loving? Can you hypnotize my kids to do the dishes? I've been asked all of those things before today. So we're finished pretty much for the night. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. And the show is recorded if you want to pop back and try a couple of these techniques a little bit later. In the meantime, thank you very much. And